Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Gebo the Shaman, and today we're talking about what happens when we have the moon placed in Gemini in the 3rd house for Aries Ascendant. We're talking about your moon today in the 3rd house. So, before we get into all that good stuff, I just want to mention that, you can purchase a reading from me, an astrology reading from me, by going to my website, gebodeshaman.com, and that's pretty much the only way to get a reading from me. There's been a person on my channel who's been wanting a reading but unwilling to pay, and just a PSA, I don't do readings for free. This has taken me my time and energy and effort to learn astrology, and it takes time to analyze each and every chart that I read, and so I do not do readings for free. So there's just that PSA. Alright, so I also do offer an astrology certification course. So if you want to become a certified Vedic astrologer in the style that I do it, with my, understandings and knowledge of astrology, then you can go ahead and go to my website, gebodeshaman.com, and purchase one there. Purchase your course there. And, readings available, courses available, all for pay, for cost, because it does take time and energy to teach you guys and to do readings for you guys. So just a PSA. Alright, so let's get into it. Aries Ascendant, but moon in the 3rd house in Gemini for Aries Ascendant. So anytime we have a big combination like this that we're talking about, we're talking about moon, first of all, the 3rd house, and Gemini, which the 3rd house and Gemini kind of go together because Gemini is the 3rd sign of the zodiac corresponding to the 3rd house. And then we have, the nature of the moon, and all that stuff. Plus we have how Aries affects this placement, because anywhere in your Aries chart when you have Aries Ascendant, you're always going to have that lens through which you're looking at your chart through, and that's going to be an Aries lens, an Aries perception. So we'll talk about that. Alright, so let's get into the chart reading here. So first of all, we need to learn, what is your moon? What is the moon? What does that represent? The moon is the mind. And when I say the mind, everyone thinks of intellect. Everyone thinks of smart. Everyone thinks of, oh, he has a sharp mind, so that must mean the intellect. No. The mind that I'm talking about, the moon represents the mind, which is the heart mind. The heart mind. It's the feelings, internal thoughts, internal feelings, psychology, things like that. And so next we have the moon also represents mother. It represents nurturing, motherly energy, motherly love, and branching out and making the world your family. Like someone who has a major moon placement, like for example the 1st house, someone who is moon centric operates on the level of emotions, operates on the level of being kind to others, considering their emotions, and operating in a way which is best for others and themselves, considering feelings and emotions and things like that. So now we'll move on to Gemini in the third house. So Gemini and the third house, as I said, are very much closely related. It's, they have very similar correspondences. So Gemini has to deal with communication. It has to do with commerce, communication, anything with com in it. Phone, internet, that kind of communication. Gemini is a lot about technology. It does have to deal with technology and communication, and it's like quick communication, like text messages. It is has to do with, well, it's the twins, right? So it's very malleable. It has to do with oftentimes they say twins have like this extrasensory perception or telepathy or things like that, and it's about relating to others on a communicative level of sharing information, and things like that, communication, things like that. And third house, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and it also has to do with short-term travel, short-distance travel. And then the third house has to do with your younger siblings. So typically, for example, the third house is like your next youngest sibling. So if you have an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger brother, an older and younger sibling, this is, or multiple siblings. So let's say you have multiple younger siblings. The third house would especially pertain to the one who just came before you. So who was just born before you. Or after you, I guess. That would make it younger sibling. Yeah. You get what I'm saying. So, and it also has to do with your communication, your, the style of communication even, and how you relate to others. Are you shy from others? Are you like the class clown, or like what is it? So, it's those kinds of things can be seen from this house. And then we have, the bodily correspondences. So Gemini is the throat, the lungs, the arms. So like if you're typing on a keyboard, that's Gemini. If you're speaking or singing or vocally communicating, that's also Gemini. This thing with like the right and left is Gemini, like being ambidextrous or using both hands to do something. Sign language, the Gemini, and also like this back and forth kind of thing. And so we have this sign here, and it's it, for Aries Ascendant to have Gemini in the third, that's very fitting, because that's the kind of the proper sign in the proper house. So having Moon here, however, it's interesting because it brings about an emotional component. So, like normal people, or like people who maybe don't have the moon here or have a different moon placement, would be talking about, they would be talking about the weather or business or, whatever. Like, you know, it, and, and, but with the moon here, it's like it brings about a emotional component where you're talking about like things relating to your feelings, things that relate to how you perceive the world and how you feel about things, and things like that. So it's very interesting dynamic here, because I always feel like moon in the third house is such a great placement, and um gives a lot of, it really brings about a lot of awareness of the feelings, awareness um of things that people might not be aware of. So what was I gonna say? Gemini. I was gonna say something about Gemini. um so with Gemini here, I forget. I forget what I was gonna say. But yeah, it's Gemini is also about business, about doing business and marketing and selling and things like that too. Because if you can't communicate, you can't sell things. So, that's a big portion of that. And it also has to do with like money and things like that too. Let's see. So one thing about the moon that I wanted to tell you guys about was, even though I say all these things about Gemini, the moon in Gemini in the third house, you really gotta consider the phase of the moon that your moon was in at the time of birth. So go look at a lunar calendar and look at how much sunshine was shining on the moon at the time of your birth. Because if it was like a dark moon, a new moon, people with a new moon tend to be just like kind of depressed and just like serious and depressed all the time, and like just their mental state might not be as great as someone who has a full moon during during their time of birth. So definitely look at the lunar calendar for your time of birth, and the phase of the moon will, if it's greater than 50% light, then that's great. If it's darker, I would also always recommend, if you're having problems with mental stuff, mental illness, and things like that, a great remedy for that is mantras. So whether it's a basic mantra like, Om Namah Shivaya, or the Triambaka mantra, or whatever mantra that is like a generic basic mantra, that those work great to help the mental state. And another thing that I wanted to mention is, if you want your own personalized mantra, then you can go to my website, gebodeshaman.com, and included in my reading, my astrology reading, I include a specific mantra and ritual for you to do for your own chart, based upon your own chart. And I'm one of the rare few rare astrologers that can do that can give you a mantra based on your chart, because I know some things and I look for some things, some planets that are willing to help you, and things like that, and it's great. It's great working with the planets, the specific planets and deities that want to help you. So also the moon is your mother, very much represents your mother. And so let's talk about that. The moon, wherever the moon is placed, it represents your relationship with your mother. So when you have the moon in Gemini, there may have been a lot of communication with your mom, a lot of talking about about things. Maybe you came home from school every day and talked about how your day was with your mom, or you got that support. But there's also this feeling of instability here. There's also this feeling of that you kind of didn't know what to expect from your mom. She was always changing, always, maybe in a different mood every day, or just some instability in that regard. And that can be pretty confusing when you're not getting consistency as a child. So that may play into this. Another thing is that hold on, guys. So another thing with the third house is that the third house is the house of your courage, and it's the house of who you grew up around. So whereas the second house is the family, the third house is the people that you grew up around, and that could be childhood friends. It could be siblings. It could be people like that. And so yeah, it's having the moon here, the moon is a great planet. It's full of kindness and support and things like that. It also shows me that the sign of Gemini with the moon, that tends to be a really unstable thing as well. So there could have been some changes in your environment, in the people that you were around, and this could have led to some self-esteem problems and things like that. Which is, another thing, that's important to do the mantras too. That will help your self-esteem and self-sufficiency and things like that. And yeah, it's really good. A good placement overall. It just has that little bit of instability and things like that, and that can easily become overcome kind of thing. So what else was I gonna tell you? So with this moon here, it's aspecting your 9th house. And so in order to get better clarity on this position of your moon in the 3rd house in Gemini, I would really look at where your Mercury is placed. That'll give you more information about this placement. And also the moon is aspecting the 9th house because it's sitting in the 3rd, it's looking at the 9th house. And so the 9th house is all about philosophy, spirituality, and things like that, and higher learning. So you might have something some kind of a unique relationship with higher learning, like, that stimulates you. Looking into, like, history or religion or higher learning can stimulate the mind, and it can help you to, to learn things and to just really, like, get a bunch of knowledge on things. Also, third house is your intellect. Third house is your brain, your knowledge, your how you think. Whereas the moon, I said before, is your feelings. The third house is your intellect. So with that, this your feelings can impact your thinking. Honestly, it can go one of two ways. Your feelings can impact your thinking, or the learning about the facts of something can help you with your critical thinking and knowing the truth rather than just how you feel about things, because you can feel a certain way about something and be totally wrong. This is where critical thinking comes into play. And so when you're using critical thinking, we're saying, I have this assumption about something, but that may or may not be true. So I have to look at the facts and the facts only to make a determination on what is actually true. So it's putting aside the biases, our biases and things like that, and it's looking at reality and facts. And so the moon in the third house can be great for this. It really can do great for that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say for today, and let me check on the time, and yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. And if you want a Vedic astrology reading from me, then you can go to my website, gebotheshaman.com, and if you want to learn astrology, I have an astrology certification course where you can become a Vedic astrologer. Another thing with that course is that you get, like, I basically make the website for you, and you can, be a part of that. You can make your own money as a Vedic astrologer, and I'll set you up on my website and all that stuff. So that's an option. All right. So with that, I will go ahead and close, and go ahead and, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like this, then go ahead and subscribe and click that notification button and click all. And yeah, share this with a friend who has this placement, and see if it's true for them. All right, guys. So we'll talk to you next time. Peace. Take care.